What's good, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. So, today we're going to be having a conversation about the Eastern Security Network that was set up in southeast Nigeria by Nnamdi Kanu. The entire process of setting up this volunteer organization is to create extra security for the people that live in southeast Nigeria. I'll give you guys a quick background information just so you're not lost. So, the part of Nigeria is predominated by people from the Igbo ethnic group in Nigeria. The Igbos are a powerful, strong people in general. I don't have any negative thing to say about them. I am not Igbo myself, but I love my Igbo people, okay? And I like the fact that they are extremely industrious people. They do whatever it takes to take care of themselves. They have a high mindset of establishing businesses, running businesses, generating revenue for themselves. The Igbos, not every one of them, in 1967, Nigerian government decided to go after the Igbos because they were asking for a breakup. They were trying to leave the country, the Nigerian country, to set up their own personal country called Biafra Republic. Biafra could have been set up in 1967, but that led to the first civil war in Nigeria. In my opinion, that wasn't a civil war. It was just a genocide. It was a case where the Nigerian army unleashed terror on the Igbo people for deciding to campaign against the Nigerian government and wanting to establish their own country. In all reality, in all fairness, if you're a logical person, if you're a realistic person, you know that there is nothing wrong in you asking for a better life. So I have to apologize about any background noise that you hear. It's coming from my kids. My kids, I put them to bed some minutes ago. They decide not to go to bed, and we have a small house. But regardless, the live stream has to go on because there is so much information here that needs to be passed to the world. So in 1967, the Igbos whom were clamoring for Biafra, they went up against the Nigerian government and it turned to a civil war. Like I said, it wasn't a civil war, it was a genocide. The Nigerian army and Nigeria, as at that time, killed at least 5 million Igbos, including tons of innocent women, children, unarmed citizens of Igbo land. Because according to them, there was no room for negotiating the succession of the Biafran people from Nigeria. Anyways, fast forward in 2014, thereabout, 13, the clamor for Biafra came back to realization when a man named Nnamdi Kanu came back and decided to represent the struggle for the emancipation of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. That is the acronym that represents the people. Now, when Nnamdi Kanu came out talking about Biafra wanting to break up, a lot of people kicked against it because they were like, this is going to destroy the integrity of Nigeria. If you think about it from an angle, it makes a lot of sense because you do not want your country to be broken up into smaller fractions, especially when you are genuinely convinced that when it does break up, it's not going to lead to the improvement of the lives of the people that live in those geographical locations. But then again, if you're a realistic person, you know for a fact that Biafra, the creation of Biafra is reasonable. Okay. The reasons why it's reasonable is because the people of Biafra land have been marginalized for so long. Okay. They have been strangled. Their ability to control their own destiny, to steer themselves towards the right direction, has been hampered by the Nigerian system. Keep in mind, I'm not a Biafran. I am a Yoruba person, but I do support Biafra, and I like the noise that they are making because it just shows that people will never give up the fight for their freedom, no matter what form it comes through, no matter what shape it manifests itself in. A lot of people have this prejudice mindset when it comes to Biafra. They think about it like Biafra created the first civil war in Nigeria, so we shouldn't give it any room. We shouldn't give Biafra any opportunity to come to fruition. But that is a wrong way to think. Because if you are a Biafran person and you support the movement, you are supporting your own self emancipation from a system that has subjugated you for so long. What am I talking about? What's this guy talking about? Subjugated for so long. Keep in mind, Nigeria has been existing for 60 years since its independence. 44 years out of 60 years of Nigeria's existence has been under the control of people from one ethnic group, maybe two, the Hausa Fulanese. Now, it shouldn't be a problem if one ethnic group is dominating power as far as they're doing a good job. But in this case, the people that have been in power for 44 years out of 60 years, they've been doing a terrible job, an extremely terrible job. To make matters worse, these people have now grown to believe that they are genuinely born to rule. They believe that every other group of people in the country should be subservient to them. It's underneath. They are nobodies. And that's where the problem is. You know, me being a Pan-Africanist, in a perfect world, what I would have preferred is the entire continent of Africa needs to merge into one super country. And then if that happens, we would have more powers to sit down on the negotiating tables with other superpowers of the world, like the United States, China, Russia, the EU. And then whenever we sit down together to have conversations about how to move the world forward, how to improve the lives of the people, how to generate revenue from different business exchanges, we would be in a better position to negotiate with world powers. I apologize about the crying noise in the background, man. Anyways, um, now that we are in an imperfect world, what we have is a bunch of different countries, 54 countries on the continent, where there is extreme levels of diversity in terms of ethnicity, linguistics, religion. We are an extremely diverse people, and it makes it very difficult for us to live together in peace and harmony because people always feel like the other group of people that are dominating are subjugating them. That's just how it is. Okay. Now, let's go back to the Nigerian story. Sorry, I'm digressing too much. It's just, it's been a long time I did one of these live streams and I'm excited. I have quite a few things to say. Now, the Eastern Security Network. I'm going to share my screen real quick. The Eastern Security Network was created strictly for one purpose, and that purpose was to improve the security of the people living in the southeast part of Nigeria. That is why the Eastern Security Network was set up. It was set up by the man on the screen that you see. His name is Nnamdi Kanu. And millions of people living within that geographical location are satisfied with the setup of the Eastern Security Network. Me that do not even live from, I don't live on that geographical location. I'm talking about the southeast part of Nigeria. I'm not even from there. I support it. And the reason why I support it is because the Nigerian government cannot provide adequate security for the people living in the southeast part of Nigeria. So the Eastern Security Network was created out of necessity. I'm going to give you guys a few numbers so you can understand where this entire energy is coming from. In 2020, Nigeria became the third most terrorized country in the world after Iraq and Afghanistan. Nigeria overtook Somalia, Yemen, Syria. I'm talking about some countries that have been the most terrorized countries in the world for the longest time. Nigeria took over those countries to become the third most terrorized country in the world. And that is according to the Global Terrorism Index that was created by the Institute for Peace and Global Security. It's an Australian institute that basically compiles numbers of people that are victims of terrorist attacks. And it also compares the economic impact and of the people living in those geographical locations, and it compares the ability for those locations to attain peace. So when they put all the numbers together, Nigeria became the third most terrorized country in the world after Afghanistan and Iraq. To make matters worse, the Nigerian government does not have a clue on what to do to improve the security of the people living in Nigeria across the board. I'm talking about north, south, east, west. Now, the northern part of Nigeria is the most terrorized region in the country. They experience the highest level of crime rates. These days, kidnapping has become the order of the day. It's become the most lucrative business. Kidnapping is nothing. Everybody kidnaps. I might be exaggerating slightly, but if you do your research and you look through the news and you see what is going on in northeast Nigeria and northwest, it's clear that they have lost every ability to secure that location in Nigeria. Some of the culprits are obviously Boko Haram. A lot of you guys have heard about Boko Haram. Boko Haram came into existence about 13 years ago when their leader was killed by the Nigerian military and they decided to go haywire. They've been going all out, killing anybody and everybody and terrorizing people. And for some reason, the Nigerian government set up a program called Operation Safe Corridor. Operation Safe Corridor was created to reintegrate repentant terrorists back into the society. So they feel like anybody that was a terrorist, you were a Boko Haram member, but now you are considered as a low-risk person and you voluntarily quit being a member of Boko Haram or any other groups of bandits. You can be reintegrated back into the society. But keep in mind, the war against terrorism, the war against Boko Haram is still ongoing. But the Nigerian government decided to set up the Operation Safe Corridor to reintegrate these people back into society. Obviously, that is unfair, okay? Because what that creates is the victims of the terrorist attacks. First of all, they are not getting enough justice. Now you're reintegrating the people that committed those crimes against their family members back into society. So it's a slap in the faces of the victims of Boko Haram. But that's what the Nigerian government decided to do. Now there was a poll created by a media organization in Nigeria called Premium Times. Premium Times created a poll on Facebook and Twitter in 2016. It's like 4 years ago. They asked people, what do you think about reintegrating repentant terrorists? Repentant. I have to put that in quotation because if a terrorist tells you that he's repentant, would you believe? Anyways, they asked 14,000 people on Facebook and 5,000 people on Twitter. Do you guys agree with the new system of reintegrating repentant terrorists back into the society? 92% of the respondents said no, we do not want this to be the status quo. We do not want repentant terrorists to come back into the society. So obviously, a huge percentage of Nigerians do not agree with the Operation Safe Corridor. They do not agree with re-assimilating repentant Boko Haram members, repentant Fulani herdsmen and bandits, and ISWAP. If you guys don't know what ISWAP is the Islamic State of West Africa. We have so many terrorist organizations in Nigeria right now. And it's so crazy because I actually grew up witnessing all these guys spring up from different angles. But anyways, Nigerians did not agree with the operation, but the government shoved it down our throats the same way they do so many things. Now, fast forward 2020, the same terrorists, not Boko Haram this time around, I'm talking about Fulani herdsmen. If you guys do not know what Fulani herdsmen are, they are basically nomads. Okay, Fulani is an ethnic group in Central, Northern, Western Africa that they are predominantly nomads. They roam around with cattle. The cattle graze on farmlands, on pristine vegetation around the place. They basically roam around. Okay, that's how they maintain their cattle population, and that is their culture. They are a group of people that they roam around with cattle, feed the cattle, and they just live their lives that way. But the problem is, in 2020, in the 21st century, we live in a world where there are artificial borders. There are many countries that have different borders. There are restrictions. You don't have the right to just roam around and do whatever it takes to take care of your animals. Now, the Fulani population is huge in Nigeria, and the Fulanis have been pointed to when it comes to a lot of violent clashes that have happened between herders and farmers in different parts of the country, including the southeast part of the country. Now, in southeast Nigeria, there have been many reportings of Fulani herdsmen going to a farm. They meet a farmer, they kill that person just because the farmer has an argument with them about their cattle destroying the crops and the farmlands, and it ends up in violence all the time, right? The Nigerian government hasn't done enough to protect these farmers from the violence meted against them by the Fulani herdsmen. So the people in the region decided to set up a volunteer organization to protect themselves, and they called it the Eastern Security Network. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Now, I just want you guys to be real. Do you see anything wrong in anybody trying to protect himself? Can there be anything wrong in you as an individual acting upon one of your most fundamental human rights? Across the globe, it's the same thing. You have the right to protect yourself. It's just common sense. You don't even need anybody to tell you that you have the right to protect yourself. And obviously, the Nigerian government cannot protect Nigerians. It's obvious. If anything, the Nigerian government is one of the main threats towards Nigerians. Because what the government does is, if they do not like you, if you're speaking out against them because the country does not favor you as an individual or your group of people, now you're protesting, you're holding placards, complaining about bad governance, create infrastructure, stop police brutality, give us a country that improves our standard of living. The Nigerian government would label you as an enemy of the state, and they will go against you with the Nigerian army. Recently, something happened in October 2020 when Nigerians took to the streets on a campaign against police brutality under the hashtag End SARS. And then it's metamorphosized into End Bad Governance, prosecute corrupt public office holders, and so many other hashtags popped up. The way the Nigerian government, the only way the Nigerian government knew how to stop people from taking to the streets and protesting for a better country was to send the military to kill the people that are protesting. So you're dealing with a bunch of people in the government that will never play fair with you. Now, keep in mind, IPOB, okay? IPOB was designated a terrorist organization by the Nigerian government. For whatever reason it was. It did not make any sense. I mean, we have real terrorists. We have ISWAP, like I said earlier. We have Boko Haram. We have Fulani herdsmen. We have bandits. We have a bunch of terrorists in the country. But they decided to attack the indigenous people of Biafra for asking for a better country. These people were unarmed, okay? They had no guns, they had no weapons. All they had was their protest cards asking the government, please, we are sick and tired of being a part of this country. We are sick and tired of being subjugated. We are sick and tired of being under your rule, which doesn't favor us. And we are sick and tired of being slaves to you guys. We need to form our own country because we don't want to be a part of a country that does not favor us. That is a fair enough proposal. It's not a big deal for you to ask to have a better life. But the Nigerian government immediately tagged IPOB a terrorist organization and used absolute force to attack IPOB. And that was in 2016. That was when this happened. This started. Keep in mind, IPOB, the IPOB, Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, were the people that were asking for their own republic, which led to the first civil war in 1967. The civil war lasted up until 1971. I don't even call it a civil war. It's pretty much, it was a genocide. That's what it was. It wasn't a civil war. It was an extermination of the indigenous people of Biafra. That's what it was. That wasn't a war. It wasn't a fair fight at all. And then fast forward 2020, the same complaints they have had since 1967 is the same complaint they still have till this day. And that's why they decided, okay, we need to go back to Biafra. We need our Biafra. It needs to come to fruition. Stop holding us back. Stop preventing us from blossoming. But the Nigerian government, as usual, they are like, no, we don't want that to happen. Now, the Nigerian president came out a couple of days ago and said, the Nigerian border with Niger Republic can only be effectively secured by God. I kid you not. This is literally what the Nigerian president said. Let me look for that photo and share with you guys. It just shows you guys how incompetent the leaders that we have, not only in Nigeria, but in many African countries. It's the same problem that we have. We have a bunch of people that have no clue what they are doing, but regardless, they will do whatever it takes to remain in power, even if that means killing everybody in the country. Now, look at this photo. This is a collage of two photographs. The first one here from Vanguard newspaper, the Nigerian president, December 22, 2020, he said, only God can effectively supervise Nigeria and Niger border. So if you guys are aware, the Nigerian and Niger border, Nigeria shares its north border with Niger Republic. Niger Republic happens to be a country that has a huge population of Hausa Fulanis. The Hausa Fulanis are an ethnic group that have been dominating the political affairs in Nigeria for 60 years. Okay. So if the colonial borders that were created in the Conference of Berlin by Europeans to give us Africans our countries, to map out our countries, if those borders were not existed, easily the Fulani Hausa people, yeah, they would have had their own nation that would have overlapped between Nigeria, Niger, Burkina Faso, part of Libya, maybe a bunch of those countries in that region. Okay. But now that we've decided to go along with the maps that were given to us by Europeans, I did not make that choice. Okay. I was born into the system. This is all I've known. But I've done my research to know that a lot of these things do not favor us. Anyways, we decided to keep the map that Europeans gave us. Keep in mind, a lot of these ethnic groups overlap different countries. Okay, so the Hausa Fulanis that can be found in northern part of Nigeria, they are also found in the southern part of Niger, southwest part of Chad. They're found in Burkina Faso, Mali, a bunch of West African countries. These people have been dominating the power circle in Nigeria for 60 years out of the existence of Nigeria. Nigeria has been existing for 60 years. It gained its independence from Britain in 1960. So 2020 makes it 60 years. The Hausa Fulanis, okay, they are leaders since the inception of Nigeria. They have proven over and over again that they view people from the South, especially the Igbo people from the southeast part of Nigeria, as inferior, as infidels. They have no respect for these people. Now, if the people that govern you, the people that are in charge of your country, view you as an individual, they view people from your ethnic group as inferior, as nobodies, as garbage. If that is the case, would you want to remain under that control? It doesn't make any sense. If anybody does not support Biafra or the creation of the Eastern Security Network, then there's got to be something wrong with you. It's either that you are benefiting from the Nigerian system, which only benefits people in the circle of power, their friends, and their family members. It does not benefit the majority of the people living in that country. Okay? Now, if you're against the creation of Eastern Security Network, just because you're like, no, we need to maintain the integrity of this country, regardless the fact that people are dying every day due to the fact that we are unable to secure the people, then there's got to be something wrong with you. If the president of your country, the people you're looking up to protect you, are telling you that only God can effectively supervise Nigeria-Niger border, only God, there is a problem. Because at the end of the day, I am a strong believer in God, okay? But I know one thing, that God gave all of us brains to be able to think about solving our problems. A lot of our problems can be solved by ourselves. We do not need God to solve these types of problems. If you're relying on God to solve the security issue between Nigeria and Niger, where tons of Fulani people that have been indoctrinated to believing that Southeast Nigerians, Southwest Nigerians, people from the south of the country in general, people that do not practice Islam, their predominant religion, are infidels and they deserve the worst treatment ever. If you cannot secure the border where majority of those people live, which is Niger Republic, where they can easily have access to Nigeria by crossing into Nigeria without having any customs or immigration officers stopping and checking their documents, you believe things should remain the way it is, where we have to rely on God to secure the border and prevent unknown people from coming into the country and possibly being part of the numerous terrorist organizations that we have in the country, killing people all over the country. If you believe that only God can prevent these people from coming in, then why should we, the people, believe in you as a president? If the service chiefs, if you guys look at the second photo, we have the head of the military, the head of the Nigerian army, the head of the Navy, the head of Air Force, basically the head of the military organizations. They tell us that only God can police Nigeria's expansive border on weak 52 billion naira border project, whatever that is. This came out in 2019 May. If the people that we rely upon to protect us only rely on God, then there is a problem. There shouldn't be any reason why anybody should be against the setup of the Eastern Security Network. There shouldn't be any reason. Even if you hate IPOB, even if you're one of those people that are like, man, IPOB is all, they cause too much trouble, they like Wahala, we don't like them, they need to get the hell out of here. If you're one of those people, right, you hate IPOB with a passion, you are prejudiced against IPOB for whatever reason it is. If you have a brain and you look at this photo and you realize that the Nigerian leaders, the head of the military, the Nigerian president, does not have the ability to protect Nigerians, whether they are IPOB or they are from whatever part of the country they are from. If the Nigerian leaders and the military does not have the ability to protect the people, and the people decide to float security agents, volunteer paramilitary organizations to protect themselves, and you have a problem with that, then you are part of the problem. That's why I 1000% support the Eastern Security Network. Now, I've been rambling a lot. I honestly did not want to be on the live stream for more than 20 minutes, but I will just try to shorten what I have to say next. Now, let's talk about the potential problems that the Eastern Security Network will face in the near future, because this is going to happen. Now, keep in mind that the Eastern Security Network predominated by Southeast Nigerians, okay? Southwest Nigerians, where I'm from, I'm a Yoruba person. Southwest region already created a security network called Amotekun, however you want to pronounce it. Amotekun is also a volunteer paramilitary agency to create an extra layer of security, more than what the Nigerian military provides, more than what the Nigerian police provides, because we have a huge level of insecurity going on in the country. right? So it's only natural for you to do what it takes to protect yourself, your family, your properties. And in all fairness, Amotekun, there was a report that came out a couple of days ago about Amotekun officers shooting at someone. I'm not sure if the person was hit. I'm not sure if the person got injured or passed away, but it was some case of, the regular power drunk people. Whenever you have a weapon, and it's one of the problems that we have in Nigeria, okay, probably many African countries. If someone has a little bit of power, he tries to ride on everybody else. Okay, it's crazy. It's just one of those insane psychotic problems that we have. Okay, the Amotekun guy, I read somewhere, okay, that he shot at a civilian because the civilian was asking some random questions, which didn't make any sense. But anyways, the southwest part of Nigeria created Amotekun to create an extra level of security for themselves. Now, the southeast part of Nigeria has done the same. They created the Eastern Security Network to protect themselves, to give themselves an extra level of protection, because in their local farms, they are having their people being attacked by herdsmen, cattle rustlers, people walking around with their cattle. Majority of these people are from the Fulani ethnic group, and they kidnap people, they rape women, they kill people, they do a bunch of crimes, they commit crimes all the time, okay? And it's only natural for you to protect yourself. And that's why the ESN, the Eastern Security Network, was created. Now, the southeast governors of Nigeria, about 9 states in the southeast, they came together, they had a meeting, which they called the Southeast Governors Forum, and they unanimously decided to go against the Eastern Security Network. As a matter of fact, they laughed at it. Let me show you guys what the headline says. Just one second. So check this out. Daily Post. It's a Nigerian media organization. Southeast governors dismiss Nnamdi Kanu's Eastern Security Network, describes it as laughable. These are supposed to be the governors of the people living in that geographical location, southeast part of Nigeria, where people are being attacked on their farms. The people that attack them are Fulani herdsmen and bandits. They simply attack them because while they are roaming around with their cows to graze, they clash with farmers because now they are trampling upon the crops of farmers. The cows are eating the produce, and it's just creating a negative impact on the farming activities. So it causes different clashes. People end up killing people, and it's just not fair, right? And the people decided to set up their own security network. Now, their governors that are unable to provide security for the people decided to laugh at Nnamdi Kanu's ideology of creating the Eastern Security Network because they just feel like it's unconstitutional. Why would anybody take these people seriously? They are just a bunch of thugs. They are nobodies. Just ignore them. So this is going to be the first problem that the Eastern Security Network will encounter. Because when you have people from your own community fighting against you, even though your duties are to protect your people, which is reasonable, okay? It's your responsibility to protect yourself. It's one of the most fundamental human rights to protect yourselves. Now, the people are trying to protect themselves. The governors of those geographical locations are against them. And the reason why this is the case is because the governors of the southeastern part of Nigeria, okay, the same way it is in the southwest, to be honest, and the south-south, These people are stooges to the northern governors, to the northern part of Nigeria. If you paid attention to what I said earlier in the live stream, the northern part of Nigeria has been dominating power for 44 years out of 60 years of the existence of Nigeria. Okay, so they are the dominant force in the project Nigeria, and the project is gradually falling apart. It's not working. Okay, now the people that find themselves in the corridors of power in the southeast part of the country, they always have to play to the tune of the people that dominate power, the northerners. They have to, because if they don't, they're going to get a lot of sanctions. It's pretty much how it is. Okay. Now I'm going to give you guys a higher level of how people are subservient to their masters. The northerners that have been dominating the power circle in Nigeria, they are stooges to Europeans. Do you guys see the power play? So the southeast governors are stooges to the northerners, the Hausa Fulanis. Then the Hausa Fulanis are stooges to Europeans. So that is the hierarchy of the stooginess, if that makes any sense. And the reason why it is that way is because people always need support. I mean, if you have a country and you need support when it comes to military equipment, when it comes to economic development and stuff like that, you always have to look for an ally. The governors in southeast Nigeria are benefiting from the structure of Nigeria, the current structure that creates opportunities for people in power, their friends, their families, and everybody that is affiliated to them, while the people, majority of the population, suffers because of that status quo. Right? The people in power, they would rather have decent lives, even though it's at the expense of the people. And that includes, they having a decent life includes laughing at the creation of the Eastern Security Network. I need you to keep in mind that Nnamdi Kanu, the guy that started the Eastern Security Network, he was already designated as a terrorist by the Nigerian government, simply because Nnamdi Kanu has been trying to lead people from his ethnic group, the Igbo people. He's trying to lead them towards Biafra land, the creation of a new country where they are no longer under the subjugation of Nigeria, which makes absolute sense. I am not Igbo, but I think the ideology makes sense because Igbo people are definitely subjugated in Nigeria. And even me, that I'm not Igbo, I am equally subjugated under Nigeria because that's just the way Nigeria is, right? And then you have their leaders fighting against them from progressing. So that's the first problem that the Eastern Security Network is going to encounter. The second problem, which might actually degenerate into absolute chaos, is the Nigerian government itself. Keep in mind, the Nigerian government described IPOB as a terrorist organization, which means that now they have the legal backing to attack and kill IPOB members. Let me show you guys what happened in 2016 with IPOB. So this is a website. This is information from Amnesty International. It's a global organization that keeps track of human rights abuses and stuff. You can see the man in the photo. His skin is burnt. He has extreme skin burns, okay? And the heading says, Nigeria, at least 150 peaceful pro-Biafra activists killed in chilling crackdown. This story came out in November 24, 2016. Here it says, the Nigerian security forces led by the military embarked on a chilling campaign of extrajudicial executions and violence, resulting in the death of at least 150 pro-Biafra protesters in the southeast of the country, according to an investigation by Amnesty International published today. So they killed 150 people in November 2016, and between then and now, they've killed thousands more, okay, of peaceful protesters that were basically asking to be treated properly. They didn't have guns, they didn't have weapons, they were not trying to kill the military. They were peaceful protesters asking for a better country, but the Nigerian military and the Nigerian government decided to kill them. Anyways, the two main problems that the Eastern Security Network is going to face is the resistance from the Southeast governors in collaboration with the Nigerian government, because the Nigerian government hates them with a passion. They hate anybody that tells the truth. When End SARS protesters came out asking for a better country, the Nigerian government killed a bunch of protesters and denied it blatantly. So you're dealing with people that don't play fair at all. That's just the way the Nigerian government is set up. And even though I'm 100% in support of the Eastern Security Network, I feel a little bit afraid of the fact that now the Nigerian government has a reason, a manufactured fake reason to go attack people that are trying to secure their areas, right? They are simply going to say, oh, IPOB is a terrorist organization. We have to go kill them. That's what they're going to say. And this is how the first civil war began in 1967. I really hope that a repeat of history does not occur with the clash that would occur in the future between Eastern Security Network and the Nigerian military, the Nigerian government. I pray it's not going to degenerate into an all-out war. Okay, I hope that's not going to happen. But it looks like that is going to happen. Because the Nigerian government is very, very useless. Okay, extremely useless, and they will do whatever it takes to remain in power, even if that means impoverishing millions of people and killing millions of people. It doesn't matter to them. All they care about is to remain in power so they can have immunity, they can have access to money, resources, and control of everything around them at the expense of the people. The Eastern Security Network is made up of volunteers, regular people, regular Tom, Dicks, and Harrys in the society that are like, man, we cannot stand and watch our people get killed every day without the army intervening, without the police officers intervening. Because the police officers, truth be told, if they see terrorists, what they do is they take off their uniforms and run away. They take off their uniforms so the terrorists don't recognize them as police, and they run away. So the police is ineffective against terrorists. The soldiers are ineffective against terrorists, but they are effective against peaceful protesters. And it's scary. It's actually scary, okay? But if this is going to lead to a new phase in the lives of millions of people, where millions of people would actually have a chance of, of seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Because right now, a lot of people, they've given up. People are just sick and tired of the continuous regression that has been going on for 60 years without anything that gives you hope. As a Nigerian myself, I'm not going to lie to you, I've totally lost hope in that country. Totally. Each time we try to fight to get a better country, there is so much resistance that it's impossible for us to attain. Okay, it's just so difficult. Like I said earlier, in a perfect world, I would have preferred if the countries that surround Nigeria, like Benin, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, if all those countries, including Nigeria, can come together, have a meeting and decide, you know what, guys, let's all annex. Let's come together, form a super country, and move forward. I would have preferred that. Personally, that's what I would have preferred. But since that is not going to happen, and the current status quo of Nigeria is made to destroy the lives of people, the people living in the country, because let me give you guys some other damning report. Nigeria recently toppled India in the country with the highest population of people living in extreme poverty. India has a population of 1.3 billion people, and India has always had the record for the highest number of people living in extreme poverty. Extreme poverty means, I think, people living under $1 per day. India has always had that top spot. But in 2020, Nigeria toppled India to become the country with the highest number of people living in extreme poverty. In the same 2020, Nigeria became the third most terrorized country in the world. So all the indices point to the negative. Now, for you guys that are not from Nigeria, that haven't lived in Nigeria, you might be thinking, but Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa. What are you talking about? This country is supposed to be the richest country in Africa. It's supposed to be like the most developed, the most urbanized, and all that stuff in Africa. Well, that is not the case. Okay. The size of the economy of Nigeria and the rate of growth of the economy does not have a direct impact on the lives of the people, does not have a direct impact on the improvement of the standards of living of the people living in Nigeria. And that's just the truth. Okay. In many other countries in the world, like let's say African countries now, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, Rwanda. You see, in those countries, they've also been experiencing a steady growth in their economies. Their economies have been improving nonstop, the same way the Nigerian economy has been improving. But the difference between the two situations is that in those countries that I just mentioned, I'm talking about Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, the standard of living of the people has also been improving, even if it's slowly, even if it's by droplets. The standard of living of these people has been improving. But in the case of Nigeria, reverse is the case. And that's why it is a big concern for the people living in Nigeria. And that's why people have lost hope in Nigeria, especially when your president comes out and tells you that only God can effectively supervise Nigeria's border. Well, what are you talking about? Then why are you the president? You understand what I'm saying? Even the president has given up on the country. It's crazy, man. It's just crazy. It's insane. I wish this wasn't the case. I would have preferred to be reporting on positive stuff and be portraying Nigeria in a positive light. But I'm not going to just be lying. I'm going to tell the truth. I will tell the truth exactly how it is because people's lives depend on these things. A lot of people are getting killed. A lot of people's lives are thrown into poverty, extreme poverty, year after year, due to the incompetence of the leadership of the country. Now people are trying to protect themselves, and the leadership is against that. Like, well, what are you talking about? This is worse than slavery, in my opinion. Anyways, to round up this conversation, Nnamdi Kanu and the Eastern Security Network, they need to brace up for extreme levels of resistance that will be coming from the Nigerian government and their Southeast governors in the near future. And if anybody ever comes across this live stream, if you're an Igbo man, you should support Eastern Security Network. You should. It's your responsibility. It's your moral obligation to support such a volunteer organization. Me, that I'm a Yoruba person, I 1000% support it. And I would encourage any other person that is Yoruba to support Eastern Security Network. You have to support it because the Nigerian army is not going to protect you. The Nigerian police is not going to protect you. So are you just going to sit there, live in poverty and die? I mean, you have to do something about it. That's why you have to support it. And now the potential clashes that would happen between the Eastern Security Network and the Nigerian military, we're going to see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. But thank you guys for tuning in. I honestly did not plan to stay for this long, but sometimes I just keep on rambling, talking and talking. It's like I like hearing my own voice. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay blessed. Make sure you keep telling the truth. Make sure you protect yourself and your family. Until we meet again, peace.